Hey, hi, hello, welcome back, Alexandrian Codex, Stellaris. So we're Interstellar Congress. This is really just a vibe campaign. I think some people on YouTube are going to be disappointed I'm not reading all the text or really getting into mechanics, but I just wanted some space vibes to pass the time. So that's what we got here. And the chances of the US Army's Twitch channel getting shut down is 0%. Yep. God, and the amount of, and you've probably seen it on my channel, the amount of ads targeted towards, or the ads purchased by the United States military is insane. He's absolutely insane. Once you start looking for it, United States military propaganda and recruitment material is everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. There's a Twitch channel for a military? Yep. But only the United States military. Because American exceptionalism. Don't look for it. It's, well, I mean, look for it if you're curious. But the United States Army, at least, I know, have their own Twitch page. And what they do on it is they stream, it's not a recruiting page. It's just people in the military, in uniform, streaming video games as part of their job at the military, but totally not trying to make the military look cool or hip or rope in minors by playing popular games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare. No. We're not manipulating kids. We're just increasing visibility. Yeah, and that they have a very, very knee-jerky mod team too. They're a lot of fun to troll. Not that I would ever do anything like that. No, not me. I just choose not to be mad at things that'll never change. That's fair. That's totally fair. So I can understand prioritizing the current talking point of hot tub streams, but I don't give a shit. It doesn't personally affect me, and I would be lying if I said that as a youth I did not seek out sexualized content that maybe I shouldn't have. But in retrospect, I don't wish that I had been better protected. I had, my first, sexual interactions online when I was, oh boy, 13, 12, 13, 14, around there. Pretty fucking young. Problematic? Yeah, a little problematic. In retrospect, do I wish there had been protections in place? Do I wish that the law or the government would have intervened? No, not for me, not personally, but I don't have kids, so I can't really speak to what I wish the government would do for, the youth nowadays. I don't have a horse in the race, right? Just gonna work because I have nothing to contribute. If you want to change the topic, definitely just ask me leading questions. I'm not heart set on talking about this. Some days I'll go off on tangents that I'm very passionate about, but I'm pretty ambivalent today. So feel free to wrestle the conversation topic away if there's something else that you want to talk about. Remember when the US Army created a Counter-Strike knockoff for recruiting purposes? I played it. It was okay. I had a friend, God, Michael is his name, very good friend of mine when we were growing up, who was just heart set on joining the Marines once he became an adult. His uncle was in the Marines, so he really bought wholesale into propaganda and put them up on a fucking pedestal and deified his uncle, really. And, keep in mind, we're 90s kids, so we were barely teenagers when the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan happened. I was 9 years old in 2001 when September 11th happened, so we were kids being fed this imperialist, interventionist war hawk propaganda that now we can see in retrospect was very misleading. But at the time, this is the atmosphere we grew up in. So a lot of these propaganda campaigns, I was like, hell yeah, dude, I'll play this military game. Probably the military could do it more accurately than anyone else. It was okay. It was real grindy too. It wasn't a particularly good game in retrospect. Yeah, let's see if we can Google up what that was. U.S. Army first-person shooter. This won't be very helpful. America's Army. I think this is what we're talking about. America's Army Proving Grounds, right. It had you, like, go through boot. They made 5 versions of it, at least. It starts out with, like, you going through boot camp, but it's, like, a really glamorized version of training programs, and, like, you go through shooting challenges to figure out your proficiency and like how good or accurate you are and how quickly you compete these challenges. Gives you different badges that let you use different guns or whatever the fuck else. And, you know, honestly, neat concept. Mechanically, neat concept. Yeah, I played the first one back in 2002. Oh my god. I'm old. I am so old. America's Army 2, America's Army 3, America's Army 5 in August of 2018. Oh, holy fuck. Wow. They kept making this shit. That's incredible. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. I don't even remember if not for seeing it as I scanned through my Steam library. It's in your Steam library? I had to, and this is why it was a recruiting method, give my address and email address to the United States Army, I think, and they mailed me a fucking CD to install it with. That way, I got on a recruiting list, so they knew I was X years old, so in so many years, they'd reach out to those addresses and be like, hey, you thought about signing your life away for the military-industrial complex? It's very, very tricky, the small ways that they do it. I mean, God, when I was a kid, they offered, like, the stupidest shit. Like, oh, you want some keychains? Just give us your address. Oh, you want a bottle opener? Give us your address. You want a t-shirt? Free t-shirts. It's It's just right there on Steam for anyone to play. Well, it's gotten easier to play. I played one of the original versions, I think, but yeah, it was a time. It was a time, I think. It's one way to put it, right? Oh, God.
Finalized.
I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Okay, we'll go ahead and collect Sawillow. Doesn't really matter. But Rieg, I'm ignoring this event for now. Let's get rid of this progenitor and communications jammer. Yeah, let's get a comms jammer. Probably not necessary, but because again, they're pacifists we're bordering. Terrible sight to behold as we pick up more and more images of the Ifrits. It was inevitable these would be leaked to the wider public. Oh, become more xenophobic, or they're ugly. Get over it. They are kind of ugly plantoids. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you're interested in learning about or hearing more people commiserate about just how pervasive the United States is in its recruiting methods for its military, including the poverty draft and all kinds of things I can only like superficially touch on, and there's a lot to it, I abso-fucking-lutely recommend the Twitch and YouTube channel Left Flank Vets. Left Flank Vets are a group of United States Armed Forces veterans who are leftists. They are incredibly cool, incredibly passionate, incredibly intelligent, well-studied people, funny as hell too, just fucking hilarious, because humor is a coping mechanism, people. So give them a follow if you're interested. If you're not, dog, that's fine. I can't blame you for that at all. But I am super interested. All right, Trappist. In Wheel, I like as a name. You know what? No, this one's just gonna be Spider. Spider is a because, you know, giant spiders. Spiders in my name list because the Spider, or a character by the name of Spider, or its translation, is a deity in a couple of West African religions that I can't remember the name of, and the iconography of a spider is used in a lot of religions. Eoster is kind of appropriate. What do we have here? Marine habitats and clear skies. Wow, this is a beautiful planet. Even Poseidon would be pretty okay with this one. Cybele. I like Cybele. Yeah, let's go for that. Cybele, Demeter. A lot of these names are just Earth deities. Can't be any more than any other governments. Well, you got to keep in mind the United States military. No, why did you declare me your rival? Because we border each other and I've increased tension by increasing the number of borders we have. Yeah, that's fine. You'll get over it. You'll get over it. Or you won't. I don't actually know how strong your fleet is, and I can't build a spy network because I'm doing first contact right now. I can't talk right now. I'm talking to aliens. Well, we may have to double back on that. The United States military spends more than like the next, what, like 7 militaries combined. These are all garbage. 7 militaries combined. The third most well-funded militant organization on the planet is the United States Police. Are the United States Police. So we are worse than many other nations in like deeply perverse ways. Like even if you look at sexual assault statistics within the United States military, and these are documented and reported cases of sexual assault within the military. The United States military's is this on auto upgrade? Why do I have an upgrade for this? Huh. The United States military's incidence of sexual assault is way higher than most other militaries. Again, it's reported, and the number of assaults reported fractionally is probably like a fifth of the actual cases. And that's not even to say the amount of, like, how violent the United States military is. Just... oh boy. Oh boy. Like, there's a very recent ad campaign that the United States, Army? I think all the branches are doing that does, like, little profiles of individual soldiers. They may be fictionalized, they may not. That tries to make the individual soldiers seem, like, really woke and, like, really progressive to try and get at this younger Gen Z audience and get them to join. And the juxtaposition between the shit that was going on when I was a teenager, which was like Marines fighting lava monsters, and I'm not making this shit up, to people talking about, I have 2 moms and I graduated at the top of my class and I got a free ride through college and I really wanted to give back to my community and an army recruiter showed me the way to do it. It's disgusting. Just disgusting because it's feeding off of people's altruism and desire to do meaningful, impactful good in the world and saying, oh, join the military. This is totally how you do it. And it's not at all. But we're so bereft of options where we can really, institutionally engage with our neighbors and help our communities, that these lies seem like such tempting offers and tempting opportunities. It's so predatory because we could instead just have a, department dedicated to improving the infrastructure, eliminating poverty, feeding people, ending homelessness with just a fraction of what we pay into our armed forces in the United States. We could have altruist government-funded organizations, but instead we just have those that keep regimes in power that are friendly to U.S. business interests, that allow us to exploit labor cheaply or export material cheaply for profit so that we maintain wealth of the wealthy in the United States and keep other nations and regions from rising to challenge our hegemony. Yeah. Anyway, how about that Stellaris? I'm not sorry. This is who I am. I can't talk about anything with being like, hey, did you know capitalism's bad? Hey kids, want to learn about the prison industrial complex? Want to learn about the military industrial complex? Want to doomer for a bit? Pull up a chair. Old Alex got you covered. Hey kids, you broke as fuck, just go off to Iraq to commit war crimes for a few years. If you survive, we'll give you free college. I mean, they will literally recruit kids off of the street. I know a couple of kids that were homeless that the United States military is like, hey, sign up today, you'll have a place to sleep, you'll have meals. And that's the only way these unhoused people can get help. That's fucking insane. That, oh, wow, okay, you want to survive? You want just, like, basic fundamental human necessities and rights? Pick up a gun and go oppress someone overseas, and then we can talk. What? Sickening world we live in. Doomdrian Codex. Hello, welcome to, Black-pilled Incorporated. I'm not actually black-pilled. I am not hopeless, right? Jesus, this is still going on? Oh, because this keeps repairing. We'll whittle them down eventually. Hold up.
Together we will build a brighter
The Voidspawn appears... Voidspawn appears to not be attacking. Okay, that doesn't seem right to me. Something seems broken there. But, you know, I'm not gonna complain. Fine with me. Aetherian power plant? Yeah, sure. This. I think I heard of homeless people committing minor crimes just to be caught. Yep. That's a thing, especially in cities like New York, Chicago, Boston, colder cities, especially during the winter when the few shelters available are full to capacity, especially during these COVID times where capacity has been reduced in order to make sure that, well, try to make sure that the people using those shelters don't become sick. People would really rather not freeze to death. Or starve to death, right? And the one place they know they can get warm and get at least a meal is being arrested for something. So a lot of these folks start accruing a criminal record just because it's their only way to get into some sort of apparatus that'll care for them. Prison industrial complex then providing social care and socialized welfare in a way that the United States government is unwilling to do through other apparatus. And the amount of money we feed to house and feed inmates in the United States is insanely high relative to what it would be to house and feed people outside of the prison industrial complex. So it's wildly inefficient, but you know, people want to live, and I cannot in any way hold that against them. Yeah, you can't even do that if you're a minority. Yep. Yeah, matter of fact, I had a friend in the hospital this morning. Luckily, they're okay. And they're like, oh, somebody in the ER is here with like 6 cops that assaulted them after they were leaving work because they were black and like bear maced them, and now the guy can't open his eyes. I'm like, every fucking day. Every fucking day it happens. If it's not on the news, it's still happening. If it doesn't catch on Twitter or social media, still happening. The United States police kill on average 3 people a day. 3 people a day, which is more than any criminal organization, even per capita, has done in the history of the United States. The police are the most violent, organized, militant force, and most deadly and dangerous militant force in the United States in the entirety of its history. Is the most dangerous to the populace of the United States. This is great stuff. I'm proud to be an American. What's such a shame is how none of this is new. It'd be one thing if we could blame like a recent regime change, i.e. like the rise of fascism, resurgence, let's say, of fascism following the Trump administration. But it's nothing new. It's just people have gotten more emboldened by more powerful people, giving them permission to say and believe things that they've always said and always believed. And like the first Union map isn't what I want. Sector map is what I want. If I connect Trappist to Blue 10s, then it'll be part of this sector. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I don't have to hire another governor. If you look at the founding of most police forces in the United States, a very, very high number of them, really the vast majority, started out as slave catchers, as catching runaway slaves or going to free states to bring slaves back to the South so as to force them back into forced servitude. And then over time, they transitioned to what they are today, but their foundation and roots and organizational structure are mired in racist inequality, are rooted in racist violence and racial violence. Yeah. The mob at least had a code. Yeah, the mob would cut people loose. The mob had some sort of accountability, but literally, United States police officers cannot be held accountable for what they do on the job, because the argument was at the time when the legislation was passed that making them accountable would make it so that nobody would want to be a police officer and that it would make the job impossible. If your job is impossible without breaking the law, maybe your job shouldn't be possible. The individual should not be able to murder carte blanche and just say like, well, you know, I thought they had a gun. You shouldn't be able to plant drugs on a suspect after arresting them, but accidentally have your body cam off so that it looks like the drugs were on the person all along. No one should be able to do that. No one. And yet it's endemic throughout the United States police forces. It's not a few bad apples, it's the entire fucking apparatus that's rotten to its core. It's just horrible. It's just...
Together we'll build a brighter future.
But we gotta back the blue. We gotta... Yeah, it's crazy to think this time last year how many people were out protesting, myself included. And this year, just how used to it people have become. There's a lot more organizing local mutual aid projects than there were this time last year, and that's a big sign of hope. Socialist, anarchist organizations within the United States continue to see accelerated growth, which is incredibly encouraging, especially in regions like the Midwest. Along the Rust Belt, I know in northern Indiana, the Democratic Socialists of America, particularly, and other socialist organizations have seen some pretty substantial growth, which is just exciting and encouraging, because the Rust Belt and really the Midwest and the farmer communities there used to be at the heart of labor organizing in the United States in the early 20th century. They were some of the most progressive folks as far as labor goes. And I want to be very specific as to labor and not other attitudes, which, you know, there was some variance there, let's say. Seeing that reawakening is wildly encouraging. Oh my god, yeah. I swear I thought I grabbed my taser and then unloaded in their chest. Yeah. Just... fuck. Right? Like, the standard is so low. So fucking low for a police officer in the United States. I mean, you can literally be too intelligent to be a cop. You can be too much of a free-thinking person to be a cop in the United States. Because you're a thug for capitalism. And if you're okay with that, then you're a bad person. If you're in denial about that, then you're a stupid person. I have a childhood friend who was the last time we talked. It's been
Our
over a
research
year,
has brought
pursuing becoming a police officer. And I'm like, okay, I want nothing to do with you ever again. This is why. These are the choices that you made to make this happen. I want to make this very clear. Fuck off and never talk to me again. Or, if you want out, reach out. Yeah, the armed forces being held to a higher standard than the police is absurd.
Together we will build a brighter
The
future.
argument is, right, traditionally that the armed forces have access to weapons of war that the police don't, but increasingly because of these buyback programs, these buyback programs I'm referring to are where excess military goods, whether it be armored personnel carriers, whether it be helicopters, whether it be airplanes, whether it be munitions, whether it be small arms, whether it be whatever, are sold back to United States police forces rather than foreign militaries, so as to not distribute weapons overseas, which was seen as a good thing. It was seen as better as proliferating arms within our own communities than doing it globally. Really, you should just cut down on production, but if you cut down on production, that affects the military-industrial complex's bottom line, and we can't have that. So all of these fucking Bearcats and different types of armored personnel carriers that were ordered too many of or never got use were sold to police forces. Police forces then, when they're applying for their yearly or annual budget review, say, hey, we acquired this big-ass tank, effectively, on wheels, without a mounted turret, and, well, we need a budget to upkeep it now. And it's been, since really the late 80s, wildly unpopular for moderates and conservatives to say no to any requests for increased funding to the military or the police. So they'll just say yes in order to try and garner more votes and make people feel like we're making our communities safer. And you're not. You're making your communities more dangerous because you're giving someone a fucking hammer and a bigger hammer and a bigger hammer, and all these meatheads see are nails everywhere. Especially with the justified use of force that they never really have to justify in a court of law. There are police accountability organizations that never really hold them to account because oftentimes they're staffed by former members of the police unions. And, like, for fuck's sake, the United States police can legally seize private property, or personal property, private property from people suspected of crimes and auction them off. It's illegal theft! It's just insane! It's insane! But, nah, it's just completely normalized. It's completely normalized. But again, it's encouraging to see more people being educated to this reality, waking up to this reality, trying to find ways to push back against it. Now, some very well-intentioned libs are trying to do so electorally through getting more and more progressive people into Congress and the Senate and local government positions, which is good. There are those disenfranchised and disillusioned with the elective process that are instead turning to direct action, mutual aid, building local coalitions and organizations of labor organizations to try and accomplish meaningful, materially impactful actions to benefit people or to push back or mitigate the effect of these harmful organizations. And that's incredible. It really is quite incredible. But, oh God, it's just so frustrating thinking about the generations that let this happen. My parents' generation, and, I mean, mostly them, mostly the people who were, and maybe their parents as well, who were alive in the 80s. The 80s is really when a lot of this shit got especially spicy in the United States, and did very little or nothing. Well, this is anticlimactic. The Void Spawn just being slowly killed by death of tens of thousands of cuts. But I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm not going to feel good about it, but I'll take it. Commies are out to get my guns. Cops are stealing guns legally. Yeah, commies are not out to get your guns. Who's a bigger First Rights Amendment proponent? The, well, you have the right to bear arms, or, where we at? No, you got oh no. No, don't show me Cora. Well, you know what, Cora's a fine sight. We got old Ronnie Reagan over here saying there's no reason why on the street today, a citizen should be carrying a loaded weapon. Good old Ronnie Reagan, right? Richard Nixon, I don't know why any individual should have a right to have a revolver in his house. People should not have handguns. Then you got old Marxy boy. The whole working class must be armed at once with rifles, cannons, and ammunition. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. Mao Zedong, it is only by the power of a gun that the working class and the laboring masses can defeat the armed bourgeois and landlords. Or Vladimir Lenin, it's most urgent and essential that there be a universal arming of the people. If you love guns, I got an ideology for you. And it's not libertarianism, it's not conservatism, because they're lying to you, and they actually will take your guns away. They've been well documented doing it in the past, and they'll do it again. Bop, bop, they'll do it again. If you really want to keep your guns, solidarity forever, comrade. Solidarity forever. Do we have alloy foundries on this planet? No. I kind of want alloy foundries. I'm not using them, but I'd rather specialize in a specialize in a metallurgists, right now. You know what? No, exotic gas refinery. Yeah, give me that. Had no idea communism was supportive of everyone owning guns. Yeah, I mean, if the fundamental basis of socialism, communism, Marxism is that things are done as democratically as possible, everyone has an equal say, well, then everyone should have the right to defend themselves. And if the community is ultimately the body responsible for organizing itself, policing itself, and like this is handling its own violence, handling its own incidents of crime, it's kind of necessary. The introduction of the militarized police and the secret police in the Soviet Union was really a response to Stalin being an absolute fucking crazy man. And he wasn't crazy, he just was an authoritarian. Him being an absolute authoritarian, as well as the foreign spy agencies that had infiltrated the Soviet Union, were existing in the world. It's a real politics thing. Had any idea they thought of in the first place, or even thought of it. Yeah, it's fair. In the United States, there's a lot of rhetoric that, the commies, socialists want to take our guns away. We don't, dude. Join the Socialist Rifle Organization. We want anything but that. We want you to be responsible. We want to make sure you're not hurting anyone or yourself. But at the end of the day, your right to bear arms is a revolutionary tool, and the last thing a socialist wants is to take that away from you. Let's pop down a registrar here. A couple of trade hubs, I guess. Anchorages. Remember when Trump took your gun stocks? Oh yeah. No, better blame the Democrats for that. Better blame the fucking progress. This is bullshit. I didn't earn this. At all. We can research it, getting egg shards. Oh my god, yes.
Situation log updated.
I need a science chip. I need a hero? What are you doing? Archaeology? Hey, you can always do that later. Go research that. This is some horse shit. I don't know why that just wasn't getting into combat. This is a documented Stellaris bug. Sometimes fleets will be in combat, but one of the fleets won't attack. It just won't. It's a very rare bug, happens like once a campaign, but it does happen. And sometimes it happens with Leviathans. Very, very rarely, where they're in combat, but they won't do anything about it. Only guns we're here to take away those of cops. Oh, they can keep their small arms. right? I don't mind having a armed response force, but I don't think those same people should be in charge of traffic tickets or traffic violations. I think those people should only be called in very specific circumstances, the way that SWAT is now. I want the police to be, by and large, first and foremost, an organization that tries to de-escalate violence rather than escalating violence or meeting a situation with overwhelming force so as to dominate it. Now, I totally understand strategically, tactically, why the mentality is the way it is now. I'm not going to pretend to be naive to the logic underpinning the systems that we have in place, but I will express a fervent disbelief in them.
Special inquiry.
Doesn't small arms include rifles and machine guns? Yes. Small arms refers to armaments meant for one human to operate. Small arms, and this is why I said handguns, particularly with reference to the police, small arms can refer to anything from a single operator carried and operated machine gun to a single operator operated mortar or rocket propelled operated. Those typically assume two operators, someone loading, someone firing. Single personnel weapon systems tend to be small arms. More broadly, specifically, I don't think there's any need for... it's impractical, even if you're talking about revolution. Where that? Fucking... Che Guevara talks about this in great detail, about how wildly impractical it is for revolutionary forces, or those even just resisting a militarized police force or an oppressor, to use automatic weapons, to use anything that prioritizes suppressing fire or a mass of ammunition, because you do not have, as someone is, you know, a lone wolf or an organization that's not in power, you do not have the logistical network or apparatus to produce the amount of ammunition necessary to keep those firearms operational efficiently, or you'd have to steal a hell of a lot of ammo, and that will slow you down. So even revolutionary doctrine talks about automatic weaponry being antithetical to revolutionary aims. What it is really good for are people completely losing their fucking minds and attacking a bunch of people who can't respond to it, which is what we see time and time again happening in the United States. No, the United States cops have tanks. You're right in saying they have pretty much everything short of tanks and jets. For example, the United States, or Seattle Police Department, during the protests last year, which were peaceful at the time, and by peaceful at the time, I mean day one, the first fucking protest, we had spy planes in the air. Spy planes with the kind of resolution where, you know, you can see someone's face in 4K, like 4 times the resolution you can see my face in right now. We had spy planes flying over the city all day, day in, day out for weeks. We have armored vehicles on our streets. The United States Police have Air Force, small ones, but they have dedicated aircraft. They have dedicated armed vehicles. The United States Police are the third most well-funded and equipped military on the planet. Why do they have tanks? What the hell? Okay, so the United States military buys too much shit. It buys more than it can use. It buys more than it can use for 2 reasons, basically. They're paranoid as hell. 3 reasons. They're paranoid as hell at some war that's never going to happen, so they create stockpiles everywhere just in case. Their logistic network is not actually that good, so they like having these things spread all over the place, again, just in case. Number 3, because it keeps American jobs running in factories that make these tanks, for example. It's mostly lawmakers in Congress and the Senate forcing bigger budgets to allocate towards things we don't actually need. Then the United States military has too much stuff that they have to store. What do they do with it? Do they sell it to foreign powers? No, because those can be used against us. In the, God, I think it was the 90s, or at least early 2000s, I forget what it's called, but these programs started being set up where excess military hardware would be sold to the United States police forces at a premium, or even given to United States police forces for a tax cut, basically. That's how armed vehicles, helicopters, weapon systems that are wildly inappropriate for local police to have got into the hands of the United States police forces across the country. And then once they had them, they claimed that they needed to upkeep and maintain them. And then once they had them, they thought, well, now we need to upgrade. Now we need to do better than this, better than this, better than this. There was a lot of fear-mongering, especially in the 80s and 90s, about these gangs getting more and more well-organized, getting access to more and more deadly weapons. And the only appropriate response was accelerationism and increasing the access to arms, armament, and equipment that the police had in order to violently quash these gangs. Now, the real solution to organized crime is eliminating the material root cause of the crime, which is, by and large, poverty. But instead of doing that, we just perpetuated the problem and created our own, like, miniaturized military-industrial complex by creating forever wars here at home with gangs, fictionalized or not. We justify spending more on this military equipment, just keeping the wheels spinning. Keeping the wheels spinning, because if you don't have an enemy, you can't justify all this spending, you can't justify all this equipment, and you have to either disarm or change your entire industrial apparatus. Fucking Eisenhower was warning about this in his last days as president, warning about the birth of the military-industrial complex. This is Eisenhower. This is motherfucker who was all for total war doctrine in the course of the Second World War, right?
I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell.
This speech did not get very much attention. When a new president is coming to power...
No, fuck off. I don't need context.
...industry of vast proportions. Been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions.
There was a...
Councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
3 months. New pay.
I only wanted the speech, you fucks. Oh, this is terrible. Just give me the actual speech. Just, please.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Warship launch.
God damn
every gun that is made, every warship launch, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles.
Etc., etc. You get the point, right? The exciting part of the speech is what he leads off with. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the United States Police ranks 3rd amongst worldwide military expenditures. This is the table. Is this available? Good. In higher resolution. The United States military spends about $731 billion, which is fucking insane on its own. China, the second follower-up, spends about, let's say half, but it's not even half, at $261 billion. The United States police forces, in an aggregate, spend $118 billion. That's more than... That's half of what China spends on its fucking military. It's more than what India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Japan, or South Korea spend on their militaries. We have all this fear-mongering around Russia and, Russian hackers, Russian spies, Russian aggression in the Ukraine and the Caucasus region, and, there's some legitimacy to that. But when we look at how well-funded it is, our police are twice as well-funded as the entirety of the military apparatus of Russia. This isn't an overstatement in saying we drastically need to defund, demilitarize, and abolish what is today the United States police forces. Yeah. Now, this is 2018 data. Unfortunately, this number has only grown since then. This number has only grown since then. But it still holds to be about true. It's not a day of me streaming if I'm not going off about... Okay, don't click through it this time. Me going off about politics. So if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about shit you probably already know. If you're like 6 episodes deep on this, hi, you are an enigma. You're an oddity. Most people make it about 3 episodes into any series. This isn't me being critical. This is just how YouTube works, myself included. Most people will start a series off being like, oh, hell yeah. And then second episode will be like, yeah. And then 3 episodes in is about where you make a commitment. Either way. Just with a lot of things, 3 is a very magical number in the way that we form, we conceptualize things, we form patterns. 3 is really the breaking point. If you're on board, then you stay on board for a long fucking time and you make a habit out of it and you stick around for a while. Or 3, you're like, I feel like doing something else. The vast majority of people, when they hit 3 videos of a series, and this is why the Let's Play series phenomenon on YouTube has largely died in the last decade. Not a bad thing, it's just the way people act. That's why a lot of Let's Play series die around like the 8 episode mark, because a lot of content creators like me, a lot who are more professional and worry a lot more about the bottom line than I do, see after that 3rd video really if the series is going to succeed or not for them financially, and oftentimes it doesn't. So that's why this whole format has really gone the way of the dodo, in lieu of clip shows or people having really edited videos that just cut between stuff, because people tend to stick around to 3 to 5 minutes on a video on average. My videos are way longer than that. I know that the content I make is just like anathema to success on YouTube, and I really don't give a shit. So when I say, wow, hey, you're here, that's fucking crazy, I'm not being mean to myself. I'm not being bitter about it. I'm being like, you are a statistical anomaly, my dude. Again, these series, I tend to expect to run about 10 episodes or whenever I start losing interest. I'm having fun, but as you can tell what I'm talking about, it's not really because of the game. It's just because I like talking about politics and history, and this is a nice space vibe to do while we do it. So if you enjoy the content, well, there will probably be at least one more of these. Probably more, but minimally one more, because we're not at 2 hours today, and I like to record in 2-hour segments. So until tomorrow, I'm going to say toodaloo, take care, see you then, bye-bye.